I did a quick presentation yesterday, and I'm not really a marketing guy, so apologies for the very simplistic slides. Sherry asked me to write a couple of slides regarding 883. It's mainly I would say a business case to show what the value would be for us to start doing peerings. What's 883? Just in 2 words, it's a new country code that has been created by the ITU very recently. Voxbone has been participating for the past 2 years in creating that because we were lacking in the existing country code. We were lacking a global country code for the type of service that we want to launch. The idea here is to create a new way to be reachable. And for example, what we are going to do with this country code is a new service that will allow you to have an additional ID. It's a global ID worldwide that will allow you to be contacted from different networks like Skype, like even traditional networks for a very low fee. It will not replace your current phone number. It's an additional way of being contacted. For example, you see people right now putting their Skype ID on their business cards, where in the future what we hope is that people will also add their iNUM, their global number, their global ID on their business cards as an additional way to be contacted. So a call flow, a future call flow, if you look at a caller from an originating network, would be any type of carrier. We'll send a call to a +883 number. The call will be forwarded to our network, and then we will forward simply the call on to the terminating network and then on the terminating device. What's the challenge? This service is of course not launched yet. We are just at the alpha stage, I would say, right now. So what's the challenge for us? Well, first of all, making sure that this new country code is being implemented in all the networks or in as many countries as possible, in as many networks as possible. It's a huge work, so that's something that we are starting now. And the second challenge is to make sure that these numbers are going to be reachable for a low fee, because it's something, of course, that all the PTTs in the world, it's something they control. They can choose how much they're going to charge for this, sending calls to this number. So the 2 challenges that we are going to have in implementing or in creating this new country code. I think as an example, when Liechtenstein, a little country in Europe, that when they started and when they wanted to have their own country code, it took them over 2 years to make this country code reachable from all the networks worldwide. So it's a big work to make that possible. Why do we think we can succeed, or what's different compared to in a couple of years ago? If we started this initiative a couple of years ago, people would have told you're never going to succeed. You're never going to be able to convince the PTTs to make this the networks or this country code reachable for a low fee. What is different now, in our opinion? First of all, you have IP everywhere. Because of this IP technology, you can do these interconnects very easily, very fast. It becomes very easy for incumbents. We've seen all the traditional incumbents here that are doing peering, so setting up an interconnect with them is not as difficult as it was 5 years ago, where you had to set up a whole SS7 interconnect. It would take a month before it was ready, and a PTT would need a real business case before really agreeing to set up or to implement such a country code. Right now, since it's so easy, it's much easier to convince them to implement that. Second, because of all this peering network being created a little bit everywhere in the world, it's much easier now. If we want to make this country code reachable from China, we don't need to physically install an equipment or in China, or we don't even need to get a lease line all the way to China. We just have to pair with, for example, the peering fabric and use one of their interconnected provider to make it reachable. And the third reason is that today we have major challengers. Of course, everybody knows Skype. For us, it's much more important to have 883 reachable from Skype than it is to make it reachable from AT&T. Of course, we love to make it reachable from AT&T too, but if you look at the amount of users these challengers, if they can still be called challengers, have, dynamics are completely different, and these type of companies are very willing to participate in such an initiative. So the whole telecom market is different than it was before. In terms of technical options, what do we have as option to make these numbers reachable from maximum of networks? Well, either we set up bilaterals with every incumbent in the world, or we set up wholesale agreements with wholesale providers so that they resell connectivity to this network or this country code, The third option is to set up peering, multilateral peerings with different initiatives like a VPF. And of course, we will do a combination of the three depending on the situation. What's in these three options? Why is peering, I would say, a good option, or why at least are we probably going to favor peering? Well, first of all, because in our opinion, it's the best optimization between the cost of setting up an interconnect. We're still having a direct relationship. Shihari explained this morning that with a VPF you can have one technical interconnect, but you still maintain a business relationship with every individual carrier on the VPF. Why is that important? Well, because you still want to discuss pricings, or the commercial relationships. Sometimes you want to keep them one by one, but you don't want to set up all the physical or do all the technical work to make it work. So in our opinion, it's the best compromise between the work that's needed to set up interconnects and maintaining relationships. So bilaterals, well, it's a high cost to maintain. We've seen now traditional incumbents that are moving away from bilaterals to peering. It's a high cost, but the relationship is direct. Wholesale agreements, it's a lower cost because you just have to set up a few interconnects and then this wholesale operator resell the connectivity for you, but you lose the direct relationship. And the third option, which is a mixed peering, where you have a lower cost for setting up the interconnect because you just have to set up a few of them, but you have the advantage of keeping the direct relationship. So that's probably the way we do.